young and I don't know no other ways. I've been balling for the moment, but can't sight the better days. You fell off and now you lost the shit that you was just a phase. I became this on my own, no, this is not how I was raised.
All right. So, Emmy, thank you very much, like I said, for doing this. My point of having you on, like my basketball coach, is I want to go with guys that I like, or there are, certain things that draw me to them as a person of value. Same thing with you. Like I said to you before, I wasn't a big, academic kid and wasn't, I didn't take school as serious as I need to. But I thought, wow, there's, this professor, and me kind of makes me thinking about it different. So I'm like, okay, that's somebody. If she clicked to me, I'm sure she can click to some of our, youngsters out there who are in our academy, but also just follow our stuff. We have a pretty big social media following at this point. So, I thought it'd be valuable for you to come on here and change somebody's mind a little bit. So could you just maybe
About
start
what?
by
Change somebody's mind about what?
about academics, like about taking it serious and the of what it can actually do for you. I think that was my piece that I didn't understand what the education of just learning things is actually going to do for you. I always looked at it as you only go to school to get a job. You don't go to school to get a job, really. You go to school to learn so that you can maybe find a job or figure out where you're going to fit in a job or starting your own thing. You go to school for knowledge, not to just like get a job. It's not a walk-through motion. It's not just do it to do it. Um,
Cost. I pay for this. I get this.
Right. It doesn't. That's not the way it really works. So, if you could give a quick intro of yourself, and then I just want to branch off of that and hear what your thoughts on my perspective of what I just said to you.
Sure. My name is Emmy YANCOSEK Gamble, and I have taught at both a collegiate level and an adult learning level, as well as working on entrepreneurial efforts and economic development for the past 16 years. And I have really enjoyed working on one particular thing, and that is personal branding.
Yeah. Okay. And that was a piece. Like I wish. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been that since I left school. I wish I would have grabbed on to what that means, why you were so passionate about it. That was the one thing I knew. I knew you were passionate about it. And I didn't have a lot of grasp, but I'm like, man, she's so passionate about it. It kind of makes you listen, kind of makes you care. And I feel like that's what I am now. I'm super passionate. I'm sure people, or the kids, understand that I'm super passionate, but I want them to understand why I'm super passionate about my basketball thing, about our social media thing, about our brand, about the business. Um, so I guess for because all the kids now, they have so many options: personal brand, entrepreneurship, social media. It's all to them like that is the cool thing. That is what they want to do. Could you touch on what are your thoughts about that? Is that good, bad? Is it a red flag? How do you feel about that?
Sure. So everyone has an opportunity to brand him or herself.
Mm-hmm.
We do it every day in three particular ways. When we introduce ourselves, we say a name. We are wearing some kind of clothing or artifacts.
Yeah.
And it is also the spirit or the intent that we use. We call that nonverbal when we're actually speaking with someone.
Yeah.
So every day we are constantly branding ourselves in three different ways.
Mm-hmm. That brand, I'm sure you know about NIL. These days for athletes, that brand is can carry with you. It can continue to go with you. That brand is basically like an IP. That when you move on to your college team, when you get in your college classroom, when you get out in the workforce, when you do internships, when you want to start your social media presence, that brand from day one. And when you're 16 and you have all of this interest, these eyeballs on you, that brand can truly be captured into something real, not just a child being childish. You understand what I mean? The athletes that you deal with, how many of them express that understanding or care? Do you see it?
Well, one of the things I am so blessed to do is teach at a college level.
Yeah.
So, from the time that I had the privilege of working with you and all of the wonderful athletes at Bethany College, I
Yeah.
am now at Fairmont State University. I'm very well aware of that. And so, one of the things that I have those discussions with, particularly with my athletes, is what is it that you want people to think of you?
Yeah.
You know that you can't control everything about you. You
Right.
certainly can't even hope to control, very much about what people think about you.
Yep.
But the efforts that we have in the actual physicality of the social media platforms and how we refer to ourselves, how we dress, the words we choose to use, the enthusiasm and the spirit, that starts to relate in behavioral characteristics. So I say to my kids, do you want to have an authentic self, or do you want to sound like some artist that you've seen
Right.
in how it is that this artist dresses or speaks or the language that he or she uses? I mean, do you want to be like them, or are you going to be your authentic self?
Yeah.
And
Right.
I think we all have learned on social media, we can tell when someone is trying to be an influencer and act like somebody else
Yeah. Right.
from being genuine
Mm-hmm. Well,
and have your own authenticity.
to put the pieces together, right? So this is the part I wish I would have understood. It took me probably, I graduated in 2013 from Bethany. So I would say it took me until about 2015 to put pieces together of information that I would have learned in school or should have grabbed more of. It took me, I had to backtrack. I had to almost put myself through school again because I didn't listen and apply and pay attention and grasp when I was in school. How can the kids pick up those pieces right now that are showing up to your classrooms every day? What is the mindset they need to have? I guess how do you make them understand that, listen, what you want, this NIL, this brand, these followers, what you want is actually, I'm giving it to you right here so that when you're done with this, you can actually go make that happen. Like what's the back and forth dialogue? Do you have back and forth dialogue to get that through the young kid's head?
Can't make anyone do anything, you know that.
Yeah.
All you can do is try to be a model. And one of the things that I've learned since the time that you and I work together is that I have my young athletes, all of my students, actually doing a portfolio. So it is an opportunity for them to have a portfolio where they can put up their videos, where they can put up some of their blogs. If they've done some podcasts, they can put up some reels of where their highlights are,
Mm-hmm.
and they can actually tell a story.
Okay.
And I teach them business communication through actually developing those physical portfolio deliverables.
Okay, now do you
So,
make them post them? Do you make them okay.
yeah, yeah. So I don't make anyone do anything, but I
Yeah, right.
certainly
Yeah.
encourage you positively if you do that, and then I help you to do that. So one of the very basic things that I spend here is your name. So many of your students have a very familiar name, and
Mm-hmm.
if you start to search it, it comes up the same.
Mm-hmm.
So just starting with who it is that you are, you can start to define, okay, this is my personal brand.
Yeah.
My name is Mary Elizabeth Gamble. There are 31 million Mary Elizabeth Gambles.
Okay.
I have chosen to delineate myself as M.E. YANCOSEK Gamble. When you are looking for me, you are going to get me. And
Yeah.
you want to do that. The other thing is how I dress and how I act has everything to do with my brand. And you mentioned that when you're younger, and I remember very clearly whenever I was a 16-year-old person, I wanted to be cool, I wanted
Right.
to be accepted, and I wanted to do what everybody else did.
Yeah.
And that's great because nobody knows what that was. But now for 16-year-olds, everyone knows.
Everyone knows that. You can't like erase it, you know?
No, no, you can't. And so I would ask them to look at themselves and find out what they think is their best strength. If that's grit, if that's determination, if that's reliability, if that is making the clutch plays, if that is, you know, building up other team members, and if they are able to be proactive, if they are able to be disciplined, if they can have one of those words that would be the theme of how it is that they see themselves acting.
Yeah.
Not only is that good mentally for them when they get ready to do things on the field, it's good for them because people start associating those words with them, and they are able to do a word cloud, or they are able to use some visuals that reinforce who they are and their personal brand. So it's not just saying what you do, it's
Yeah.
saying, I've got grit and determination, and if you put me on your team, you're going to see that every day. And then you can, there's a big word called
Right.
operationalize,
Yeah.
which means give me physical examples. So you would have some reels of where you had done something, or you would have a podcast where you were talking to someone like you and I are talking to each other. And that would actually demonstrate it. What we don't understand is that this is a very powerful medium. Having this video really allows anyone to do a personal brand very easily and very quickly.
Right.
We just need to think about what we want to do. The other thing is, do you hear how you and I are speaking? You hear the inflection. We are not using a lot of filler words like, yeah, you know,
Yeah. Right.
like,
Right.
as. And because I am very middle class white,
Yeah.
I sound like I do.
Right.
That doesn't mean that everyone's personal brand needs to be, old white lady
Right.
sounding.
Mm-hmm.
You want to sound like who you are, but you don't want to use a lot of verbal fillers. You don't want to use a lot of words or bad words, dope words that you understand, that you like, that maybe people who you're hoping to influence, such as scouts,
Yeah.
might not understand.
Right. I mean, it's funny hearing those things, like, because I think there's a natural gift of an intuition, or a, this is funny, in one of your classes, I don't remember what it was, and I actually forget. I believe the term was I forget what the term was. It's where when I'm around a certain group of people, I understand how to speak to them, to relate to them. I forget what the textbook definition is, but there's an intuition about that, and there's a value in understanding your audience.
Code
And
switching is the word you're looking for.
tone switching.
Code switching.
Code switching. Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
And honestly, I think minorities are much better at doing it than
Yeah.
the dominant white
Right,
people.
for sure.
And so you learn how to sound white. You
Right.
learn how to sound who you are with who you are. It's called code switching.
And I think that's a walking and talking of just your personal brand, what it looks like, is a big piece of that as well, because
Be authentic.
Yeah.
Don't be me.
Yeah, right.
Be you.
For
Do
sure.
you.
Right. And figure out, if I'm, a lot of the times, like running this business, I literally have to sit down and speak with people who are much older than me, much different than me. But at the same time, you have to be able to get them to understand that my goal, my thought process is in line and equal with yours, just like it would be. Like, this was years ago, a company essentially wanted to acquire me and give me stake in their company and have me do a lesser role, all these sort of things. I had to sit down with these people, and this was all brand new. And I'm coming in a hoodie and sweatpants, and I don't care how you feel about it. Because that's just me, and I'm still that way to this day. I'm literally gonna show up that way. But for me, what I understood through some years leading up to that was, that outer shell may be a little off-putting to people, but at the same time, when you get down to X's and O's of business and interests and things of that nature, of branding and all those things, those never change. It doesn't matter what you look like, what you sound like that is what it is. So
It's your essence.
yeah,
Your authentic essence.
for sure.
And social media is absolutely powerful at picking it up like
Yeah,
that.
it does. And I think, like, those were steps that I missed. I wish I would have realized that the X and O's of business, of entrepreneurship. I don't even, it's not even entrepreneurship, just being employable, to be honest with you. Like the X's and O's of that stuff is in every class that you walk to. It is available for you to grab and pick up, regardless to what's going on. You know, the ball, I say this all the time now, the ball is going to stop bouncing, you know, one day. That's going to be over. So to just walk through your college years not grabbing that information. What I mean by grabbing the information is when ME is speaking of personal brand and things, I should be asking more questions. I should be raising my hand. If I don't want to, I should be showing up at your office hours. Like, I need to grab it now. I need to grab the information so that then when I get out there and go do my thing, and whether it's on TikTok or whatever I'm dressed in, whatever, I have the X and O's. And that X and O's are truly in your college experience if you apply yourself to them.
Or your high school experience.
Yeah, true, for sure. I didn't apply there either, so, you know.
Buddhist says that the teacher appears when the student is ready.
That's 100%
It's
true.
always been, particularly our relationship,
Mm-hmm.
that anytime you've needed to talk,
Yep,
I'm always available to
for
you
sure.
long after you paid your tuition dollars.
Yeah.
And I think that there are so many educators in this world that are available to your students at any time.
Right.
And all they have to do is just be hungry and ready to learn. There's so many other things that are going on.
Yeah,
There's so much anxiety and hormones and, distractions and things that are vying for everyone's attention. I think one of the most important things is just to sit quietly every day for about 5 minutes with no devices and just let everything kind of gel
right.
and listen to that little voice inside. One of the interesting things I did with my students is we added up how much, you know, how you can keep how many hours a day.
Oh, yeah, it lets
for
me know every Sunday.
social
Yeah,
media.
yeah.
We added it up, and my students said how much they had done, this year. And then they multiplied it out over their lifetime if they were going to have a life expectancy of 78 years. And some of them had determined that they were going to spend over 10 years on social media.
Yeah,
And I asked them to determine how it was that they felt that that was good or bad.
right.
And I love social media. I'm one of these uber consumers. I'm on every platform,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's fantastic. But the kind of doom scrolling and the not thinking isn't always the best. And so while you're doing that, think about how are those people branding themselves? What
Yep.
do they look like? What do they sound like?
Right.
What do they act like? How do I want to do it? So if you're going to go ahead and enjoy that, and it's my guilty pleasure,
Yeah,
go ahead and do that, but do some reflection on, how is it that the knowledge I can acquire by being on social media can help me brand and become a better brand? Because the truth of the matter is, the more clearly I can define who I am, the more clearly I can differentiate why anyone would want to bring me in.
right.
I think that we as athletes think that we're going to stand out.
Yeah,
But the ticket to being on a good team is fitting in so well that there is no me, that I only care about everybody else on my team getting better and better. And I have seen a lot of people scout for that person.
yeah,
Is that going to be an outstanding running back? Is that person going to be an outstanding forward? Is that person going to be an outstanding, scrum? No. But if that person's authentic self is being an incredible team member and facilitates that team, I don't think there's going to be anybody in the country that's not going to pick that person up.
right. And I like what you're doing there, like making the sports imitate the life imitates the sports. That's another connection. I think it just, if it's brought up more often to an athlete, I think they'll start to naturally make that connection. But I want to go back on something you just said. So you said there's a difference between scrolling through social media mindlessly and enjoying it but gathering information, and like, so I myself, in this business that I do, I don't have personal accounts. I wouldn't have social media if it wasn't for business. I'm not just saying that. That is truly who I am. I know that it's a tool. don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, and at night I'm flicking through like a lot of other people, but I'm probably flicking through with a little bit different of a mindset, and I'm definitely, my mindless flicking is very, very minimal. So I understand that there's a valuable piece there for me to be on social media. I think this is what, these two things happen all the time. The kids love social media for the mindless things, but at the same time, they think social media is going to make them somebody. It can't make you somebody if it's all mindless, or if the only things you ever put out or consume are mindless. So you may have, I know numerous kids, as kids in my academy, who have big social media followings, and they think that that's there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel for them. There could be, but how they're looking at it is ensuring that there's not going to be. You understand what
They're
I
going to
mean?
have to harness it.
For sure, for sure.
And one of the things that I think is so interesting is that, and my students, I teach social media marketing, as you well know.
Yeah.
And my students fought me because the day in the life videos that are so popular on TikTok right now
Yeah.
look so random. And they were just like, oh, I'm just going to go do it like that for class. And I said, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
And they started doing it, and they said, this is incredibly hard. What's going on? And I said, there's a formula to it.
Yeah.
Here's how you do it. Here's what you do. You have to have music, and then you have to have an intro, and then you have to have a script. And so they look like they're just making it up at the top of their head, but they actually have a theme and a
Right.
script and what they're wearing and how tightly it is edited. It doesn't go on for a very long time. None of those are longer than maybe 3 seconds. It's
Yeah.
in, it's out, it's in, it's out. It's very, very quick. And that is a formula. And so not only do you have to have your content tight, you have to have your editing tight.
Yeah.
And my students were like, I hate you. And I'm like, I'm sorry. That's just the way it is. It looks random. It looks like it's easy. You watch all these influencers and you think, oh man, they're just so smart. But it is so formula. It is
Yeah.
so done. And there's a whole production team
Yeah.
that no one ever knows about.
Right. And that's what we literally right now, are building, and my head kid, Adam, how old are you? He can't hear me. He has his headphones. He's editing right now. But Adam's probably like 20, 21 years old. Um, that method, he's so young and understands that method. He's great at these things. And I see so many athletes that, because they're athletes, they don't think like him about social media. But that said, they have a profile. They have a following. If you thought about it the way he understood it, and then you get with people like him. You're 20 years old. You're in college. You're literally playing on a team, and you have a kid down the hall from you who's like him. Those two things matched up together can provide enough value for you, and then in turn, like what I do, it's providing value for others. I'm super passionate about basketball. I'm passionate about my academy. I'm passionate about helping. So having a method to put those things out, it's not mindless anymore. It's actual value. There is a harness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And that's just one of the values that they get from being with you, is that they may have never thought of the fun aspect of social media as being a tool.
Yeah.
Yet, we could come down, I could come down, we could start doing some content analysis, looking at a lot of the things that they're putting up, looking at the length, looking at the language, looking at the colors, looking at how long they're on screen, looking at the point of view, POV, looking at the shots, looking at, what are we doing? And then deciding, okay, what do we want? Our brand is that I'm going to be known as having grit and determination. So every one of my shots that I'm going to be doing, every one of my content videos are going to talk about the fact that I never give up, that I always bring the best. And then I want to actually show examples of it. You can't just talk, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
And the nicest thing about what's happening at your academy is that you can videotape kids doing things that actually visualize grit,
Yeah.
visualize determination, visualize proactivity, visualize reliability, integrity, quality. Yep. It's hard to define those things, but yet we know that you can through behaviors, and a video can help explain
Yeah.
what that is.
Show not
It's
tell.
very hard to understand this. The only way that I can tell them is to think of their favorite artist and think about how that artist is managed, and to do just a little bit of research. I mean, even people like Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion, and people who you think are completely just off the cuff, are absolutely planned to the how
Yeah.
they the jewelry they wear, the
Hmm.
way they walk, where they're being staged, how long they're on camera, what they're doing. Everything is thought about, planned, because that's part of a brand.
Yeah, right, right. I'm kind of gonna take it a different direction here. So, like me as a teacher, as an educator in basketball, you're always finding like what are the words to say, what's the facial expression I have to make, what's the tone I have to use, what's the language I have to use to get through. To try to put it in basketball parlance for you, like mindless social media consumption is kind of like coming in the gym and just having fun and loving it, but never really grasping the minute hard work details that make you a good player. You follow me on that?
Amen. You can either use it or get used by it.
For
And so
sure.
I can use all of your help, but I eventually have to turn around and use it too,
To, for
get me
sure.
to that next level.
So what would your advice be to other educators, basketball coaches, college professors, elementary school teachers? Like, do you find yourself trying to find those different when 10 kids walk in the room for class and it's you clearly know 3 of them are football players, they have headphones in, they're there because they have to be there, they're half asleep, like what words do you bother, like how are you getting through to that kid to say, listen, what I'm doing right now, I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm trying to help you, how do you get them
Same
to
thing I did at Bethany. I love you. I really care about you.
mm-hmm,
I learned your name. I learned what you like. I find out what's important. What are the things? What are your pain points? What are the things that are important? Um, I show up every day. I shake their hands or I hug them. I let them hug me. I have an interpersonal relationship with them. I listen to them. I listen to how hard their practice schedule is. It's incredible.
yeah,
I don't I never understood my college athletes, how much of their time is completely taken up
oh, it's
with their
insane,
sport.
it's
It
insane.
is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about what does their 24 hours look like? How can they work out? How can they eat? How can they literally have time to go to the bathroom? I mean, it gets so down.
Mm-hmm.
But when I help them figure out solutions to real life problems that they have, there's a trusting and an understanding. I love my students, but I
Mm-hmm.
really love my athletes.
Yeah.
It is just without a doubt, they are just the most amazing human beings. And for many, they wouldn't be in a college situation without
Right.
having their athletics.
Yep.
So, as an instructor, I have to help make that transition as healthy and as um, palatable as it can be. D1 set up special science classes for their football players,
Yeah.
or D1 set up special tutoring for everybody else. D3s, D2s, not so much, as you
Right.
know.
Mm-hmm.
And it is difficult. And I believe that for many of my students, they would not be there if it weren't for their athletics. And
Yeah.
so I want them to get a college degree, and I will figure out ways that we will work it out. But it's an interpersonal trust, it's an interpersonal caring. They have my cell phone. Matter of fact, while I've been on the phone with you, I've had 3 students text me. I think you know that you always had my phone number from college.
Yep.
I am always available to my students, and it's that interpersonal relationship. Obviously, you and I have been friends for many, many years after you graduated, and you are not an exception to the rule. Matter of fact, that is the rule. The
Yeah.
rule is I'm going to be with you for the rest of your life,
Yeah.
as much as I can help you, and I'll get you in contact with other people who can help you as well.
Right.
So once that trust is built, students will go back and use it again and again. Once they realize that there's something in it for me, I can do something. This person cares about me.
Yep.
Here's a problem I didn't even know I had: time management. Here's a problem I didn't even know what I had is reading. I didn't know how to skim. I don't know how to read. What does that mean? Here's a problem I didn't even know that I had. I have been blaming everybody else for the things that I've been making decisions about in my
Yeah.
life, yet my locus of control has been completely gone. I haven't taken responsibility. When you can help them with those little basic things, then they can start to brand themselves, because they start to understand who they are and what that means. And I love that you and I allow them to manifest that thought process that's inside the black box
Yeah.
in their life, what they do. And that's an honor to watch that. That's an honor to have a gentle guiding and a hand in that. And quite frankly, it is a blessing of a lifetime to be part of it.
Yeah, that's what makes it exciting. You know, and like, I mean, your 2 minute monologue was the most value that anybody's gonna get from this, and especially the educators. Like, that is really it. I said this in another podcast. No one cares, how much you know until they know how much you care. That's an old saying, and like, that is really the secret ingredient. The secret ingredient is not just shoveling out information of how to do this, that, and the third, because anybody can do that. That is really it. And it's fun. That's why I contacted you to do this. That's why we still have a relationship. Because regardless to whether I cared about the academic side or not, there was something there in ME that made me feel like you were somebody who needed to be kept in contact with and did care. And you said understanding them first, and that is kind of like that. It clicked. Like, as soon as you said that, you're like, okay, yeah, that is what sets up the relationship for me to then even listen to what you have to say about academia or entrepreneurship, any of that. And that is the single, I think that's what people lack the most. Any teacher, I said before, in 12 years of school, when before college, it's hard to pinpoint and say this teacher really helped me. Or you know what I mean? You might have liked them as a person, but I'm talking about like really helped you in some way, shape, or form to understand something, to care about whatever. It's hard to say that because usually they're clock punchers, truth be told. And so that is the value proposition right there, to get somebody to do what you just described in the last 2 minutes. Like, that's the value prop. And I hope, and we do put this out, that clip, I already know, I've been doing this long enough, that clip is going to be the most popular one of what you just put out there. And that's the only way you can get someone to consume information.
I see you. You are validating, and I validate you. I hear you. You are important, and I'm listening to you.
Yeah.
And that to me is what turns the whole relationship around.
Right.
And you saw that in our program, that many students realized that they could do a lot of things that they didn't believe in,
Right.
because we saw them for who they are. And
Right.
almost everyone was just an incredibly great human being. Look at how many people came out of 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016 and got incredible jobs. It's because they were seen, it's because they were validated, and it's because they were shared some of their vulnerabilities and some of their concerns. And it was a give and take for both us and them.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. Like I said, it's
Honor.
huge value. I knew it would be there. So, that's what I want to do. I want to put enough value out there. So you got to find the right people to do that. So thank you so much for taking this time. I know you're busy, so thank you for doing this.
Oh, no. I'm so honored to be here. And if anyone wants to reach out, I'm really happy to work one-on-one. I think that we all have something wonderful inside of us. And I'm just so blessed to talk to you and know that you're working with so many young individuals to find what that is.
Right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will keep in contact with you as usual.
As always.
Thank you.
Such an honor to see you.
Have a good day.